Hello everybody and welcome to the Fnatic training facility here in Berlin. I'm Pete, I'm going to be your host tonight and we have a very exciting show for you guys. First off, I just want to acknowledge, we've had a really tough start to 2023. Obviously, hence why we're doing this show. There's been a lot of criticism, there's been a lot of questions. I know you guys have a lot that you want to know about, so we're opening up this forum basically to show what we've been doing behind the scenes and shed some light on some of the changes that we've made. You've obviously probably seen some of those changes already in the roster with Oscar Rinnan and Advian coming in. And also we have a new head coach, NIghtshare, who will be joining us later on, so stick around for that. We're gonna dig in to his role a little bit more later on. But yeah, basically we want you guys to ask your questions. We've already collected a lot of questions from social media, from our community forums. And we're gonna go through some segments throughout the evening. So the first segment we're going to talk about is the winter split, what happened in winter split, where it all went wrong. And then we're gonna move into the changes that have been made, our off season, how we've dealt with that, and then we're going to move on to the future. Obviously, spring split coming up right around the corner. But before we head in, I just want to just quickly say that it's absolutely okay to criticize, to form opinions, to express your opinions. This is an open forum. I'd just like to mention, though, that there is a respectful way to express all of those thoughts. And I just ask you guys just to, be nice. We're all humans after all. So, but without further ado, I do want to introduce our two guests for the majority of the evening. It is Patrik, cArn, Sättermon, and Stuart Brown, all the way from London. Before we begin, why don't you guys introduce yourselves? So, Patrik.
Yes. Hi, Pete. Hi, all. Named Patrik in the beautiful world of esports, more known as cArn. Ancient player, used to compete in Counter-Strike. 10 years ago, roughly, give or take, I decided to put my AWP or M4A1, whatever weapon you used in Counter-Strike, on the shelf and enter the glorious world of team management. So since 2010, around that time, I've been the chief gaming officer of Fnatic, also co-owner. Been working close with League of Legends since 2011, the year I think we got into the title. It's been a long time, obviously. Swedish, lives in London, working with the likes of Stuart, Ross, Javier, the other team directors in our organization. Favorite colors, black and orange.
Stu.
Hello everyone. Hi Pete. Hi everyone. Stuart Brown, Esports Operations Lead at Fnatic. I've been at the company for coming up to 2 years now. My role is on Patrik's central team based out of London, and I work with all of the titles that Fnatic competes in, working really closely with management and the staff that support our teams. To make sure that the environment that we have for our players is, providing them with the best possible platform for success. Key areas of focus would be our facilities, logistics, travel, and then supporting all of the performance decisions that we make, building out strategies and processes as we go. Prior to joining Fnatic, I spent 10 years at the English Football Association. The last 5 years of that, I was lead team manager for the England national football team. So yeah, my background is very much traditional sports, and I bring some of that experience and learnings into the decisions that we take at Fnatic on a daily basis.
Great. Welcome, guys. Thanks for joining me.
Our pleasure.
It's going to be a pretty insightful evening for everyone, I believe, and I'm super appreciative that you guys are coming here and opening up to us and showing everyone what really goes on behind the scenes. Again, you guys have a lot of questions, so let's go straight into it. I want to go all the way back, even before winter split, before 2023 began. We formed a roster that we thought was going to win. And I just wanted to ask you, Patrik, first off, what was the intentions and expectations behind this roster? And yeah, why did we make those choices that we did?
We can be here all evening, I think, dissecting all of that. But I mean, yes, we are building teams on the premise that they should be winning. Winning is a verb, I guess, but it's also a state in itself. Like always, we try to be one of the regional contenders in LEC. We try to drive performance. We try to level up everything we do. We try to look at it holistically. We try to do our utmost to jump on the opportunities that comes with data and analytics. We're trying a lot of these things. We're trying to, year after year, be one of the either 3 or 4 representatives from Europe or LEC at Worlds, which we have, largely speaking, succeeded most of the years. Not every year. I think last time, 2016, we didn't. But yeah, the principles, and that's not only something we do exclusively for Fnatic LEC or Fnatic TQ, it's also all other titles within Fnatic. Kind of same ideas, same principles, which is a collaborative team, a team that has belonging, a team that can develop, a team that can stand through the test of time, the test of more and gradually higher level of competition. I think we are looking at 2023 as the absolute, and I'm not a gameplay expert, but just looking at the roster moves, the brands that are now in LEC, it's really competitive out there, right? And needless to say, we have the hindsight and the benefit of that now. Could we go back in time? Maybe some different decisions would have been made. I think a lot of it is also execution, but you asked me about kind of goals and expectation. That is to be a regional contender, taking back the throne. We're a bit far from that now, but equally to gradually take ourselves, and ideally that's without, you know, kind of growing gray hair and heart attack and all of those things that have happened in some of the late stages, summer splits, and especially playoffs of late. But we try to be up there fighting. We try to be one of the teams qualifying for Worlds. And the changes we're doing now, it's on the same principle.
Yeah, great. I think on paper, everyone believed that the roster and the coaching staff that we had, like with the promotion of Rux, with Crusher coming in, having successful time in TQ, our academy team, with the Rekkles coming back, and with a very solid top side, that we were going to be more successful than we were, I guess. But as you said, hindsight reveals it wasn't. Mm-hmm. We're going to get into a lot more of the changes coming up, but before we go into that, Patrik, you tweeted a few days ago that you felt like we were not prepared going into Winter Split. Fresh Banana, actually, one of our most diehard fans, asked the question, will we change the no bootcamp approach from the years before? So what happened during the off-season? Why did we start later than all the other teams? Sure. What was the thinking behind this?
Well, shout out to Fresh Banana, by the way. What a great nickname. Wish I choose that one day. No, jokes aside, bootcamp. So, I mean, my definition of bootcamp, at least historically, and that's where maybe the ancient rock in the room, I suppose, but I guess we have conceptualized and thought about bootcamps as something that we do prior to Worlds. So I guess you hear my voice and my tone. Perhaps it's a bit of entitlement because we're sitting here with 2 wins, 7 losses, a rebuild around the corner. But are there improved ways to enter a season? Is there a reason to think that the new format and the competition we talked about earlier in LEC and globally as well, for that sake, that we need to think maybe differently? We need to tweak and improve and do things differently. I think we obviously met up with the team back in December. We, compared to some other off-seasons, I think we were relatively early. It was a different off-season in many ways, but we can maybe go there later and go into the details, I suppose. But should we be open to look at the Christmas holiday differently? All of these things, yes, with hindsight. The question is a really good one from Fresh Banana. There is a world now where we don't really think that, well, let's sail smoothly into Christmas and we come back yet on that 2nd January flight to Berlin. I booked a few of those myself back in the days. You know, I remember that day specifically. New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, get back to work. This time around, you have probably 2.5 to 2 weeks. And indeed, if the vast majority of teams out there were back at work earlier, etc., and they even, I mean, I think our rationale, and I'm by no means a gameplay expert, right? We have really great coaches, we have really good staff for those topics, but even if there is a big meta around the corner, just getting to kind of know each other, getting into the vocabulary, getting into the mood, getting into the facility. We have an amazing one here as well. So long story short, I think we have a lot to think about as we move forward, and not just think like, well, that used to work. Let's think about that Korean bootcamp and the budget we need to enable that at the end of the year. So it's a solid one, and stuff like that we're thinking about. But we're not trying to currently, I will stress, think too much about where do we want to be in November, December this year. Now it's like, how do we lay a foundation with the defeat, with the challenges, the many of them, the fuck-ups from people like myself. We have work to do here and now. We began our journey back Saturday. I mean, a lot of other things has been in the making in terms of strategy, vision, how we staff, how to resource, and all of those things. But the hour will come when we think about like, how do we actually maximize the year? How do we become more systematic around that? That's where people like Stuart comes in with 10 years in professional football. Like, how do you actually periodize the year, the day, all of those things? In many ways, we're very mature in that regard, so we have so much work to do.
That's if I can come in, yeah. There's a balance at that period at the end of the competitive year where players and staff need some time off to rest and recuperate, right, after a really competitive season. But the reality is we had the same amount of time and the same information as the other LEC teams, and we've got some learnings to take from that approach, and maybe we will do things differently next year, I think. So yeah, just supporting everything that Patrik said there. But I think, you know, we'll make that decision later in the year, as Patrik said, when we've got all of the information and know where we've ended up.
Yeah, and I guess, I mean, obviously, without making so many excuses, the year is very, very long, and the feedback from previous years, burnout was a real factor, yeah. Especially when you go to Worlds, especially when you're spending months away from home. And I guess the thinking coming into this year was that it will be a long year, 3 splits, many more matches on stage, less scrim time, less training time. Maybe we wanted to give the players and staff a little bit more leeway when it came to that. Again, hindsight showed us that was not the way, and I think you guys have got it in the bag when we're going to learn from this for next year.
Yeah, I mean, just to emphasize, I don't think the way we got back into practice, the way we spent our time in December, was the only factor that led to the outcome performance-wise. Was one of many, right? But great question again, and something we definitely need to look at as we move forward. Absolutely.
All right, moving on. Stu, there's been a lot of rumors about the team culture not being ideal, obviously flying around things are very dysfunctional here, people don't want to be here, all of that kind of thing. For you as the operations manager, how important is team culture for you? And how do you respond to all of these rumors flying around? Is it true? Is it not true? What's being done about it?
Yeah, I mean, culture in a performance environment is so critical, right? It underpins performance, especially when there's a dip in performance. A strong culture is something that, you know, teams that perform in the long term can fall back on and gets them through those patches where there's a dip in performance. Now, the players and staff that were here in Berlin are the only people that really kind of know and will have felt what happened in the kind of 3 weeks of the winter split, right? But the picture that we've built as we've gone through the off season and, you know, analysed, taken feedback from everyone involved, staff and players and, you know, people around the operation. I think, you know, the key word there is the rumours around a toxic environment, a really negative environment. I don't think they're true. I think, you know, what actually happened was that there was a lack of kind of an established environment, a lack of leadership, compounded by, as Patrik said, you know, there was a lot of things that were going on and, you know, unfortunately going wrong at the same time. Expectation, pressure, right? So culture is hugely important. I don't think there's, you know, what we experience here, what we know happened here, not a negative or toxic working environment. But it's definitely something that we've looked to address with the changes that we've made. The staff that we've brought in, the players that we've brought in, you know, the head coach, he's been working for us for a week now. You're all going to meet him very shortly, but hugely impressed with the leadership that he brings in this area already. So, you know, we've made changes that are going to address the culture question. But I think to kind of address some of the the rumours of a toxic culture and some of the more kind of severe accusations. Everything that we've kind of looked at and reviewed and spoken to the people that were here, I think it's a bit exaggerated, and I think the poor performance and the pressure that came with that added to this kind of soup of a real kind of decline in kind of the perception of what was going on.
Yeah, absolutely. And if I may just give my 2 cents on this as well, from what I've
Please.
seen, like I've been through many years of Fnatic, rosters, different rosters. I've seen a lot of different team atmospheres, and I can absolutely say that every team atmosphere is toxic at some point, right? It all depends on results. Every one of these players has humongous drive, huge competitiveness, souls in them. They just want to win. When scrim results, when stage results don't go their way, that added pressure, that added expectation on them can lead to situations where the team environment is not positive. Mm-hmm. And that's to be expected. It's just how we deal with it that is going to determine how the team moves forward, right?
Yeah, I mean, a bit on that note, right? We are, for the first year, experiencing kind of a half split in a sense, which is a full split now, right? With the kind of cups format, the 3 of them. And we will never fully know this, right? But if we were to insert parameters, including that preparation we talked about earlier in the old format, and I'm not going to be that super old guy like was better in my days and back in the days, but I'm saying if we had 9 more games to play, maybe we, after the first 9 games, or even before, or maybe after even 9 10 11, what I'm trying to get to is we maybe would have done some calibration and we would have gotten out of that very dark tunnel with very, very little light in the end of it. But now we were struck with that amount of data. We're talking about 21 days of competitive games through those 3 weekends. And we had tough decisions to make. But needless to say, I don't like the word toxic in general, but it was not a functional culture. It wasn't, hard to really see what are the clear building blocks. The answer wasn't very clear. That's why we're sitting here. What is it now? 8-9 days prior to the new split starts. I mean, a split just ended, but for us a bit earlier, unfortunately, or fortunately, because there's an opportunity here. We have 2 more splits, and what we're doing now is to take that kind of quote-unquote gamble on something new, a new coach. That is not to say that those other contributors, those other members, did an awfully poor job or anything like that. They are extremely successful and competitive people, like you referred to. It's just that we just have to turn page based on not being able to establish that kind of culture, that kind of belief, maybe that even willingness and commitment to the project, or all of those things. But yeah, we will never know what could have been in a sense, but it's a very brutal one, and we see that in some other sports, in other esports as well, but a new one for us. So the question earlier around boot camps, now also format, how should we actually think about these things where you don't have much time to actually calibrate? Last time around you would have another 1.5 months, and you would have after that probably 2 months of time to calibrate for summer split. But again, there's a lot of benefits here. I guess we get to it later. So sorry for my life monologue here.
No problem at all, Patrik. Actually, next question's for you as well, and for Stu. Yeah, you guys obviously followed the team through winter split. We didn't see that much improvement. We saw a string of results that didn't go our way. I just wanted to ask you guys how you felt looking from from the outside pretty much, but also knowing things that were going on inside. How you guys felt throughout the split, and was there a sense of hopelessness, or was there always that spark of optimism that we would make it through?
You want to start? Yeah, I can do so. Yeah, I mean, I think we wear 2 hats, right? First hat we wear is we're fans, just like everybody else that's kind of on this stream. So we were, living every moment, hoping for kind of the win that was going to kind of kickstart our season that didn't quite come. But at the same time, as part of the central team, whose responsibility it is to be thinking a month ahead, 6 months ahead, 12 months ahead, we're quickly starting to kind of put in place plans for the process that we've been through in the last 2 weeks, right? Because we know that there's a short amount of time and a short amount of opportunity to make the changes that we need to improve the performance. So, yeah, you know, just as emotionally engaged as everyone, and kind of, you know, cheering them along, and, you know, really feeling the loss, but also switching into that kind of more objective mindset of, right, this is, you know, this is what we're faced with. We owe it to our fans to kind of, you know, start thinking about making these improvements, putting in place, you know, strategies, structures, processes that are going to help us understand the problems quite quickly, and start making some of those informed decisions for the betterment of the team in the future. And yeah, I think it's 21 days, you know, we live in that moment, but it's also a long season, right? And there's plenty of opportunity, and we've got some great challenges and some great talent, some great games ahead of us where we can still prove ourselves, and that's the beauty of esports, right? Go, Patrik.
No, very, very similar in that regard. I've always been an optimist in its kind of true definition, I think, and it's genuine. It's just inside of me somehow. It's just what my brave brain tells me, in a sense. If I recall correctly, I think we played the SK game on that Monday, which was our last game. I think there was still, to my understanding, a bit of hope that we can turn it into tiebreak and that could turn into something else. And history shows that we are able when it really matters, however the dark the night has been, or the day, for that sake. But yeah, we ran out of luck this time, so hashtag Fnatic Magic wasn't maybe there. But we, soon after, a bit like Stuart alluded to, started to think about, like, how do we go from here? And I think we maybe get to this segment later. I'm not sure if you have questions around it, but it's like how the kind of process has been. But surely we didn't leave for Christmas or enter the season or were in the season thinking that we're going to do a bit of a rebuild, we're going to change the coach or anything, because we are working so hard on the kind of day-to-day. And I think that's a little bit, and we have so much also to improve how we work kind of centrally. When I say centrally, it's the people like Stuart, myself, Ross, Anissa, other people working across all our titles. I mean, we just need to support more and support better, and create those kind of plans, and be ready to strike and be fast and all of those things. I think we got into a good place now, but in the future, I wish that we can maybe sooner and faster get back into scrims. That kind of silver lining that you actually need to find following that big defeat, being one of the two teams that crash out early, is that actually get a bigger amount of time prior to next split to prepare, right? But we had to ask ourselves a lot of questions. We have to, you know, go data oriented on some of the decisions we did. And yeah, here we are now, and we have announced some of these things. Most of you people have probably already seen it, but we can dive into the finer details of that later. But the long story short is that we are, until Nexus dying, we are true believers in what we do. But surely we early on, we also had illnesses in the team. So the short preparation we had entering January was cut shorter due to that fact. So that's life, but that, yeah, didn't help.
Yeah, absolutely. We are going to speak more about how the off-season progressed and what Patrik and Stu did during the off-season. But yeah, straight after that SK loss, even throughout the whole split, we came under a lot of criticism on social media, on Reddit, wherever. A lot of every fan and their mother had an opinion on what things need to be changed, but also, yeah, basic criticism. I just want to ask you guys quickly, how do you think we as an organization dealt with that criticism? Because this is kind of like the first time that we are speaking publicly about all of this, and we'll go much deeper later on. But yeah, Patrik, how do you think we dealt with it all?
What do you think? Put you on the spot.
I think this whole thing has been a long time coming. I think we were kind of a bit overwhelmed with everything from a public relations standpoint, if whatever you want to call it. I think we kind of pulled back a little bit into defensive mode, put our heads in the sand a little bit. We didn't ignore everybody, obviously. We read every single comment. I know I did. Felt very depressed for a while. But again, glad that we have this platform now to share with everyone our thoughts. Stu, do you have?
Yeah, I can chime in. I mean, we obviously, you and I work in different departments, and the kind of sticking the hand in the sand piece is something from a sportive standpoint that we, from the pro gaming department, the team, centrally and on the side. We have a lot of work, right? So some of those elements are also confidential. We are only able to reach a conclusion, and that's not hours, it's not days, at times it takes weeks, etc. But generally speaking, and I speak as a co-owner, as someone that's been in the company for like 18 years, and looking at the passion, that excitement is there, the kind of, you know, critical comments, but also the hopeful ones, whatever the source of those are, like people are interested, people are engaged, and I think we have a responsibility to bring people on that journey. And it's my job for the head of the department sports to make that come to life a bit more. So the session we're having here could have happened maybe slightly sooner, but generally doing some general check-ins, and been trying the last few weeks, I guess, to spend a bit more time on our Discord. We have an amazing community out there. The short answer would be, I think we could do so much better in this regard. So that is feedback we take in.
I think perhaps the only thing that I would add is from our side, maybe some of the hesitation has just been linked to, you know, wanting to be able to give the update that everyone, you know, really deserves, and perhaps waiting until too many of the pieces are in place so we can give a kind of full picture and
more solid content.
Yeah, bring everyone on the journey, right? And that's, you know, there's a middle ground between us doing that and wanting to give the fans the update that they, you know, wholly deserve, and then providing some, you know, some more transparency and commentary as we go through the steps, which are, you know, often quite complicated, not straightforward. Plan A, Plan B, Plan C, Plan D. But I think there's definitely, you know, one of the things that we've learned from this outside of PG, outside of the sporting stuff, is just how important it is to kind of keep engaged with people and make sure that we're answering questions when we can, or, you know, we're at least, you know, asking people to give us some more time and explaining why. And I think, you know, with some of the mediums that we've got, Discord, you know, with the app that we're launching, there's going to be huge opportunity for us to just make that conversation with fans a more regular thing. And, you know, that's one thing that we've definitely learned. So people can expect that more moving forwards.
Yeah, and also I think, I mean, things have been progressing at a very fast rate, and even till now, nothing is set in stone, right? There's a lot of work that still needs to be done. And whilst you're doing that work, it's really hard to then take a step back and be like, okay, this is what we're doing, communicate it with our audience. It can be very, very difficult. I mean, I guess I've tried my best with things like Legends in Action and content, but there's only so much you can do without the full information that we have now. Hence why we're doing this show tonight.
Yeah, but I will say, just connecting a few dots here, we talked about the culture, the decision that led into this year, or contributed to the results. There is a world, and I maybe said it in different words before, where we went 2-7 and we just roll into another spring split. But we had reasons to believe, based on the experience we have, based on what we see in other teams, what is working and not, the feedback from staff, the feedback from players, etc., that we were opting for a bigger kind of rebuild. Because it could otherwise have been that, oh my lord, we really sucked in winter split. This is why, this is what we're doing now, but now we needed that time. We took us that time to, you know, craft and muster a team that we're very proud and excited about, and equally, you know, adding a new head coach to the mix. So there's a lot of variables here, but can definitely do more and do better. But we also are dealing with human beings that needs to be protected, human beings that are under intense pressure. So we need to find that middle way, and obviously have great people like yourself and the entire team around you, as well as in our other offices to tell a story. So we take that in.
Yeah, we'll do better. Speaking of people under a lot of pressure and have taken a lot of criticism, I guess it's time to deal with the elephant in the room. One of the people that have kind of like been, all of it has been put on his shoulders is Javi, our team director, otherwise known as Dardo. You both work quite closely with him, being in the same department. How is he doing, first of all? He's a human being after all. And do you want to respond to all of this negativity and criticism around this kind of one individual in the entire company?
Can do my best. All right. So, I mean, first of all, I think I have some experience in what someone like him would go through. I'm not him, so I mean, he needs to at some point speak up to his own emotion, how he feels about it, and how we move forward. But been in the kind of middle of the dartboard before, in some of my own failures, some of my own activities in maybe a bit earlier life, and now have the benefit to be a family man on the countryside and just coming in when there's trouble and like take all the credit. Jokes aside, but it's not easy. We see it in sports, we see it in entertainment. Is it well deserved? Question mark. It's not well deserved. We're talking about a individual that is working extreme amount of hours, that is year after year trying to better our organization through League of Legends. Is it still fair to say that we have screwed up, that we have executed not accordingly what we have on paper? I think we would all agree, and just look at some of the skill ranking, and you should take those with a pinch of salt in some way, right? Because a team needs to come to life through the culture, the way they kind of find each other, not in-game or on the Rift, etc. But yeah, the pressure has probably been extremely high. We talked about that kind of head in the sand earlier. Like what we are coming in and trying to do here is to, from a more, I'd say, objective point of view, speak to all staff, speak to all the players, looking at some of the in-game data, looking at our options, and supporting onwards. But wherever we have ended, whatever we've done well, whatever we have not done well, it's a creation of dozens of people. It's not a dictatorship. I'm ultimately the one, I guess, next to Sam, the CEO, that signs the paperwork. But before that, there's a lot of process that goes into it. Processes that definitely need to be furthered and improved. I guess, again, we're in sports. And we as management, and I have the benefit as a former player to know that in my days, missing a smoke grenade, forced to get right, and weren't too happy about that sometimes, I guess, or missing an aim duel. I missed a lot of those. Similarly, in management, you are at times put in front of a decision that you need to make or make it come to life among many options. And the way you, in our case, working as a group, you are taking risk. You're maybe taking on risks that you don't see, etc. You maybe then make poor plans or executing poor plans. That sounds a bit weird, but you probably know what I'm trying to say. And there's no difference in that regard. Like that's our job, and we need to be better on that. We should minimize those smoke grenades misses or the aim duels. You can help me with the terminology for League of Legends because I'm an FPS guy in the end of the day. But I guess I'm trying to, in a long-winded way, explaining that it's really hard to do what we do, honestly. And that's not like to just hide behind the sofa or something like that, because we really believe we could have done better, and that's what we are trying to support now from a central standpoint and supporting the people on the ground. But it's not just one person, right? So I think a lot of things didn't go as planned. That's management, that's people like myself working centrally, that's Stuart, that's our CEO, that's our, whatever people are in this office. It's a lot of different people.
20 plus people, right?
Exactly. So we are trying to support and take it from here, and we're going to try to fill all those gaps that we have found and see, and those are many. So it's quite impressive what we actually accomplished over the last years, because we are especially bringing people from the world of sports and other areas that we've gotten this far. We've got to a lot of worlds. We got to one final. We won one, if you call it Worlds, 2011. I don't know if you do, but
I was too young.
Yeah, really? Okay.
No.
Yeah. Point being is that we have so much to further improve, and that's actually very exciting. We see that as an opportunity, and that's what we are waking up every day thinking about, equally going to bed. It's been a lot of long nights now. You probably asked the question a different way, the way I answer it, so if I miss something or should fill up the question, I don't know. But long story short, we are working through this, as always, as a team, and we are standing up for one another here. And we are accountable for the lack of performance, and that's a managerial thing. So that's us, that's Javi, that's Dardo, that's Stuart, that's all of us, right? But we're here to fix that, and we're gonna die trying.
Stu, do you have anything to add? What is the future of Dardo? Everyone wants to know what's going to be changed moving forward.
Yeah, I think Patrik's spoken to it really well. It's a shared responsibility over here, even though there are people that are ultimately accountable for delivering and executing on the ground in Berlin. But expect much more kind of support, and everything here is an opportunity as we look forward to the kind of medium-term, long-term rebuild. What an exciting project for everyone to be involved in, and team management is one of those areas where there are improvements that we need to make, right? And we'd be sitting here having this conversation if we'd had a good winter split, just the same as we're sat here, you know, having had a poor winter split. The drive from everyone at Fnatic needs to be always seeking to improve. And I know Javi, I work with Javi on a regular basis, and that's what he's got in his locker, and you know he'll bring that back to the role and to Fnatic team management as we progress. And yeah, as Patrik said, huge amount of work and energy has gone into this project on his part, and yeah, he's doing all right, I think, and I know he's going to kind of take the time to speak and give his own kind of thoughts in the near future. So I think that'll be really telling for everyone, and yeah, definitely, nobody here is shying away from the fact that things need to be improved and mistakes have been made.
Plenty of those, right? But that's a little bit also what we are risking here, to sit here, in my case, year after year, preaching at Fnatic, our performance, our vision, etc. But in some regard, if you want to be La Formula, I guess, La Formula, you can also become #Dardo out, right? So like Stuart referred to, like, we could have had a better split and maybe we didn't have this conversation, but it's not the same as saying that no one is sacred, because no one really is in Fnatic. We trust each other a lot, we push each other a lot, we try to develop one another and learn from our mistakes, and that's how we move forward from here. But we change certain things now for the spring split ahead, but change is a constant thing, and we will address things as they come by. We are doing numerous staff changes, right? So that's something maybe touch on later as well. I'm just trying to not get carried away from all your questions. I can't really see them, they'll be upside down from this angle, I guess. But point being is, we're not building a one-man band here. It's a big organization.
Yeah, thanks for that, guys. And I know, yeah, hopefully, I mean, I guess what we haven't covered is what Javi actually does day to day, but I guess hopefully he'll have his own platform in the near future to explain from his perspective what happened during off season, what happened during previous off seasons, what he does day to day. But I know for a fact, working with him here in this office almost every day, he does spend a lot of hours on the job, and he never switches off. Like, there's not an off switch on that guy. It's actually insane. But yeah, let's move on now. We're going to take a short break. After the break, we're going to talk about this off season, the changes that we've made, and
let's do it.
If you guys have questions about that, drop them in the chat. But I think we have a lot of questions already. If there are any good ones, we'll deal with them when the time comes. But right now, just a short 2-3 minute break, and we'll be right back. Stick around.
storm has been brewing, building up a power within. Now, what would you do if you could harness all that energy? Well, you no longer have to ask. So take your seat and experience true energy.
Welcome back, guys, to our live AMA here in the Berlin training facility, Fnatic Berlin training facility. Once again, I've got Stu and Patrik here with me. Now we're going to go into the off season, or what you could call an off season in a way. It's a very short one.
An in-off season.
We didn't expect this off season, as we've mentioned before, but I just wanted to delve in a little bit more into the processes, what happened after, how we landed on the decisions that we've landed. First off, when did this off season start for you guys? Like, what happened? Was it we lost to SK and the next day we were already, the cogs were already turning?
Yeah, 100%. So we spoke earlier about, you know, trusting the process in a bit, that we're still, and the funniness of the format actually, even at only 2 wins at the end, we could have gotten a third one and I think made a tiebreaker, but we tried to just focus on that and obviously get everyone as busy as possible to just support the team. But yeah, day after, that's when we back at work and trying to think about how do we best spend our time with the time that is given to us. Sound a bit like Gandalf now, I guess. But yeah, we had 3 weeks roughly, and here we are now. So it's been some long days, but quite pleased where we're at actually.
Stu, so what actually happened on that first day? What was the first thing that you guys did after that loss against SK?
Yeah, no, I think it was really important, as Patrik said, to leave the guys to perform to the last second in the winter split, as all the fans would expect of a Fnatic team. But very quickly we put in place processes to begin to gather the information and build a complete picture of kind of what was going on and where the key issues were. So that involves speaking at length to all the people involved, gathering feedback that way. So one-on-ones with all the players and all the staff involved, and then real kind of 360 reviews via questionnaire. So quite a structured process that then at the end of that gives us an awful lot of information that we can marry up with some of the kind of in-game performance stuff and really kind of hone in on what the key themes were really that we need to address to improve performance. So that was kind of the first phase of it, identifying the issues as everyone would expect, and then really in the last kind of 2 weeks, I guess, starting to put in place plans and have conversations around how we really address them with changes to personnel, but also looking at processes and kind of the way the team operates on a daily basis as well, that we can improve constantly. So yeah, that was kind of a huge part of it, was just unpicking what was quite a complex situation, making sure that the decisions that we were going to be taking and supporting on centrally were fully informed with the kind of complete picture of what was going on, because it's a really emotional moment for everyone here on the ground. No one comes to Fnatic and wants to be part of a non-performative team. So yeah, centrally trying to remove some of that emotion from the potential decisions that we were going to have to take, and I think we've done a really good job of that. And I actually think the decisions that we've landed on address a lot of the issues that came out of the work that we did in off-season.
Just on your point of, I just want to unpack that a little bit. 360 reviews, that includes everybody in the team, players, staff, coaching staff, and Javi, just to be clear.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and we'll give you your results after this session.
Oh, okay. This is my la.
See you in the studio room later, here behind.
Oh, the meeting room? We're going to have a one-on-one?
Yeah, we need to have a one-on-one.
Oh, shit.
No, but jokes aside, we tried to blend in obviously a mix of quantitative and qualitative data, and getting everyone to speak up to what they believed is the way forward, how they reflect on the past, how they feel about teammates and so forth. So yeah, something that we felt was very important given the results we had, right? But equally, we talked a bit before, I don't want to stay too much in the past, but I think in some ways, if I try to describe it the last few years, because we had some success, we've been one of the leading teams in the West, we have been a team at Worlds, but I think in some elements we have missed a bit of a trick. We missed to establish something more fundamental, something that can stand up against the bad split and still move on. We didn't have that, right? So in normal circumstances, we didn't have to go that deep and do everything so quickly as well at the same time, which is obviously contradictory. But that is to have that kind of feeling of belonging, a commitment to the project, the commitment to one another, the commitment to the organization, maybe the commitment to the game and all of those things, right? And try to anchor the decisions around where there was as much connectivity versus those important elements. So sorry for all the maybe fancy or not fancy words, but for us it was really important that we turned chapter into something where people are excited to be here, to compete, to be with the teammates, etc. We obviously have work to do because it's still in the honeymoon phase, classic esports, right? And like first few days of scrims, things are looking really well, but I think we have a very exciting group and a hungry group, very importantly as well, that are entering now the spring split and the pre-season before that.
Yeah, that actually leads into the next question here. Yeah, you mentioned like hunger, work drive, all of that kind of stuff. Was these the main kind of reasons why we made those changes in the top lane with Oscar Innen coming in support, Advien coming in, and new head coach?
100%. Yeah.
Were there any other factors involved?
I mean, look, we have, given that we still run an academy project, we have 12 players, right? If I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 12 players because we have a sub as well in the other team. And we had Elias upset from last off-season until today, where he was transferred to another team. But yeah, we asked all questions internally, like what are the kind of configurations we have at hands, looking at that kind of commitment, the belonging, like the wish to be here, to play with the teammates and so forth. And performance is a big factor as well, right? And performance is something that is variable over time, and surely someone like Oscar, just comparing him to Wunder. Wunder has been MSI champion. He's been at World Finals, like super impressive, such a great guy. Oscar in a bit younger, coming in now from TQ, super hungry, doing great results. We had a quite tough beginning in TQ in the spring split so far, but they're catching up. He played his last game in that team today, for at least for this season, right?
Literally
so we're very excited
ago.
to, yeah, exactly. Just finished like 30 minutes before the stream. But yeah, so those are the kind of key factor, and ultimately it might sound very simple, but it's kind of key ingredients where I think we have probably went a bit wrong historically at times, where take maybe some risk, try to combine people that maybe aren't synergizing, or maybe it's also as simple as we haven't executed accordingly, and that's what we need to be accountable for, right? So with all that being said, I think there needs to be a management of expectations here as well in terms of as we move forward, because we have one rookie that has never been in the studio over in Allerhof. Advien is obviously someone that has been at LEC before, so that's very exciting. But essentially what I guess we want to achieve, and it's not that we are here to lose, but if we lose, it's still a team that walks out of those studios and the prac room behind us. We cannot make short-term practice results or short-term sport results on the stage just kind of ruin everything for us. So on that basis is what we're moving forward to now. And we will obviously over time continuously to tweak things, make configuration and changes. One thing is constant, which is the competition is going to be tougher and tougher. And it's easy to sit here and I would lie if I say, yeah, this is the lineup for forever. We have everyone is just so happy, everything is perfect. That's not sports. And we need to get comfortable with that, right? Hence why also we have two teams, right?
Absolutely. And yeah, just before you mentioned Upset, he's obviously signed with Vitality now. I think they announced it tonight. What was the situation with Upset moving into 2023? Obviously, we went with Rekkles instead. Yeah. What was the thinking behind that? And I'll follow up afterwards with another question.
Another question on a question, very meta. Okay, Upset. Okay, no, I did say a few moments ago that obviously, following the results we had, the problems we had in the team, we were looking left, right in a 360 way. Whatever configuration, how can we move forward from here? And had conversation with everyone from the academy players to our LEC players to people like Elias that was on the bench. Entering 2023, I don't think anyone, and I'm speaking about Fnatic and him and his representation, had expectations that the inactive roster was the future for him in any kind of way. I can't go into the finer details, but we were at that point in that offseason very close to transferring to another team. For whatever reason, that didn't happen. Hence why we found ourselves in February with the results in hand in a situation where he is still there, right, as a Fnatic player. But I think everyone on this stream, everyone in this room probably believes that he's someone that should be on an active roster and competing, and that's also his wish. So I'm quite pleased that we were able to find a solution that made everyone comfortable moving forward, which in this case rendered a situation that when he was transferred to another team, So he completed 2 seasons for us, right? He joined us from Astralis in, what would that be, 2021. Life travel fast. And now he's continuing elsewhere, and we see what the future holds. So best wishes to him.
Yeah, thank you, Upset, for all the moments and memories that he gave us over the past year. Very, very fond memories and a lot of heart-stopping moments with him on the team. Yeah, just moving on to something, I guess, quite tough to bring up. Rekkles actually went on stream a couple of days ago and disclosed some information about how this off-season went. Especially with Upset being kind of like always present there behind him, and the pressure that he felt from this. Can you, from your perspective, how do you think this was an issue within the team?
I don't think it was an issue in the team until we ended the winter split, right? I think we showed the commitment, and we still do, to Martin, right? He's been next to Crims, I think, the longest serving member. He joined us at a very young age, and he eventually found himself back to us in this year, so very excited about that. True professional, working extremely hard. He's been picking up a lot. I've obviously seen him in different stages from the point he was probably 15, 16 years old. I remember I was way more hands-on at that point, so I'm very pleased to see him back. Looks very different now in one way, right? But look, it's been an extremely stressful situation for all of us. The concepts of sports, the way I think esports is traveling towards is one where teams like ourselves, we're having an academy team. In this case, we had people on the bench, and it's no secret that we have to look at all kind of configurations, all kind of solutions as we move forward, answering the question, how do we better our team? How do we move forward from here? And we couldn't say left or right until a quite late stage, and we're now at a place where we're going to recommit to Martin. Upset in this case continues in Vitality. Bean, our academy players, are continuing in academy for the time being. I think we could have done so many things better in the past. There's a communication and stuff like that, but I didn't think necessarily we anticipated to have Rekkles, one of the absolute best Western ADs on our roster, as well as Upset, obviously slightly more new school, also on our roster. So needless to say, and that's something we need to own up to as a management, in terms of how we better the communication and the management of those relationship and discussions. But a lot of pressure, but I feel a breather release, or at least I do, in terms of how we move forward now. We've been back in scrims since Saturday. I was about to say scrims are going well, but I can also jinx things by saying that. But I think we're having a great group now, and happy to Martin being a part of that going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Stu, is there anything from your side?
No, I mean, I don't know Martin as well as Patrik does, right? But his well-being is super important, and everyone here is behind him, and he's got the support that he needs if he needs it. And yeah, now is a time where we focus on next weekend, the weekend after next, for spring split, I think. So yeah, everyone's behind Martin, but definitely lessons that we've learned from it, and improvements that we can make as we go forwards, as Patrik said.
Thank you for being so candid about that. Okay, moving on to another hot topic, so to speak, Stu. There have been a lot of complaints about internal issues, strife. I mean, we've kind of touched on it before, within the league team. It doesn't seem to happen so much with our other rosters, apparently, Valorant or CSGO. I mean, it happens, but it's not so public. What are we doing to solve this for the upcoming split from your perspective?
Yeah, I mean, we did speak about it earlier, but I'll say it again. The new head coach we've brought in is, and the player changes that we've made are great steps forward to addressing some of the issues that we've identified in this kind of small off season that we've just gone through. But there's going to be some long-term projects, right? That we can't just focus on spring split. We've got to focus on putting in place building blocks that are going to stay the test of time. So yeah, you know, lots of projects and support and great people at Fnatic who can kind of offer guidance to the team here in Berlin as we go, that will just be pulled in, and you know, everything, including the kitchen sink at Fnatic, is going to be thrown at this team to get it back on top. So yeah, I think the personnel changes that we've made are going to, you know, in the short term make the changes that we need. Really kind of do believe in that. And then just increase support from everyone centrally in PG, as well as we start to build out some of the processes and strategies that we know we need to, following this review that we've just been through. And I think, you know, you've touched on it. League of Legends LEC team is in a dip at the moment in terms of performance, but at Fnatic we've got other titles where we know we've got a formula to build performative esports teams, right? So we'll be learning from the successes of Counter-Strike and Valorant that we've gone through. Valorant boys obviously play tomorrow over in Sao Paulo, but they're a great example of a team where, you know, they're at the top of the curve, if you like, in terms of their journey to being a real kind of world competing team, and that's what we need to take this LEC team on, and we've got the right people to do that. So
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be a walk in the park. I think the relative success we've had, obviously down to each and every one of us to define what relative success is, but in some way I feel, again, with the benefit of hindsight and assuming we can develop a time-traveling machine, there are probably those moments where we could have gone back at a certain off-season and not necessarily define that year as, oh, we made it to Worlds, things are actually quite good after all. Well, it's now first week of November, we have 12 days, what are the options we're doing? What I'm describing is basically that we have, you know, year after year done calibrations. I think that is not maybe now either in a sense, but although I will stress that we're very optimistic and hopeful and we're going to do everything in our power from a management and coaching to get this year its chances, it deserves, years long. But point being is that we have had, for example, in Counter-Strike, we moved from a Nordic roster, I would say Swedish roster, till an international roster. First year of that was very problematic, was very challenging. It also came with a lot of learnings. We put a bit of TNT, a bit of dynamite, a lot of passion, a lot of energy into fixing that problem. That is a year, or actually 6 months ago now, I would say. Team has transferred itself to a very bad position, frankly speaking, into a very good position, honestly speaking. And that's something we are, I feel, on the track of doing here as well now. And we need to kind of counter ourselves, and we need to stay strong to our belief system. However, the fan sentiment and the community figures out there are thinking about us. We need to stand up for something and believe in something. And important, we need to work really hard and be open-minded, right? So League of Legends, probably being the biggest esport, is the biggest esport, right? With the amount of players, the hype, the legacy, etc. So, I mean, it's fair. There's been some dramas. There's been things we have handled poorly. There are things we've handled all right, but that are seen as poorly, etc. A desire I have, in the role I have, and my background as a player, and work with probably 500 to 700 players across 25 teams now, is that people, at least in some part of their life, will look back at, like, this was a quite exciting time, I learned a lot. And we cannot fully control all. I mean, we can probably, if we have AI technology and like everything's going to work perfectly, but we need to remember it's a high-performance environment, but do we thrive from drama or those things? That's not us, actually. We want that story to be told, you know, next to the Baron pit, or hopefully when we're killing someone else's Nexus. So, yeah, learnings, but I think it's sports at the end of the day we're describing here, and it's rough out there, it's brutal, you know, it's binary. You're either a loser or a winner, and us as a multi-team organization, we're always losers. It's very hard to get 8 teams to win at the same time. But thankfully, we're also winners all the time. So that keeps oneself going, I suppose.
Yeah. I've got next question, actually, from one of the community members. I don't know how to say this name. Kulkivi Pal. Is that Finnish or something?
Looks very Finnish. It's a hiva fake nicking here. Kivelikapille, something like that.
Okay. Hilevikapille. As a former player, Patrik, would you consider team spirit and team culture, is it created or is it nurtured? Is it created by the players? Is it created by management? Or is it created by something else? So what's the secret sauce in this?
Yeah, I think the holy grail, this gentleman or lady is speaking to. Hard to say, but it's the holy grail. Like, if we had the full answer to that question, life would have looked very differently. But it's one of the things that should definitely drive us. And I guess as a former player, I'm trying to reflect on those moments where I was in that epicenter myself. The losses in the Chinese tournament that actually turned out to be a great trip with the mates, in the sense that we had something. We entered that tournament, we were confident. We actually also left it with tournament, whatever. What I'm describing now is maybe abstract in its nature, but it's something that when you're in it, you feel it. And that's something that everyone... And that's not a player only. It's not a staff member. It's like everyone in the facility, within the organization needs to kind of stand for. And I think we have, again, taken certain decisions. We have executed in a certain way that maybe haven't rendered that. So I do, and I think we have to push ourselves to the belief that we are capable of creating that, or at least creating the tools and instruments to build that. And that's where we have work to do. So maybe it was a poor answer to that question, but it's stuff that I go to bed at night thinking about very deeply. And although again abstract, and when you're in it, so to speak, it's something we are trying to get better at creating with our team, but it's something everyone needs to contribute to.
Yeah, I also feel like it can't be like forced, right? It has to come from some element naturally, with the personalities that are put together in this very close kind of family environment. So when it gets forced, it kind of just breaks down eventually. So yeah, I guess it's a number of things, right? All right, moving on. Unless you wanted to add something, Stu?
No. I think shared experiences really key to a culture, and one of those shared experiences can be being at the very bottom. And that is don't rule that out in terms of the importance of building culture. But as you two have both said, it's not something that you can just kind of prescribe and pay for, and it doesn't come from just the playing group or just the staff group. It's all of the guys, it's yourself around the team on a daily basis who kind of support them and help them along with the small things that kind of are going to, mean that they can focus on performance and know that they're kind of loved and well supported, regardless of what the result was in the scrim that they've just come from or the game that they played last night. So yeah, it's a long-term thing, and I think really exciting with the people that we've now got on board to kind of build and foster that and make sure that professional competitive culture is going to be nurtured, and really excited to see where they take it.
Yeah, I mean, key ingredients is to give a more firm answer, I guess, because the person answer that deserves that. I was wishy-washy, I guess. But one of the key ingredients is, and that's also what has been a bit of a compass for us, is that kind of passion, the fun. Because ultimately, yeah, we talk about sports and we can be cool and brutal about it, but it's a game that has attracted players at some point of age, from a simple basis that is really, really fun and engaging and competitive and all of those things. And that kind of shared experience, you can also say a shared ambition in terms of how we're approaching our day, what is the long-term goal, etc. And that kind of passion, that fun, the playfulness, honestly, is where we probably have missed a few tricks. And I think we as an organization has a responsibility here, where maybe we keep talking and spamming and boring people how we've been at Worlds, we won Worlds, etc. But I think we need to just at times address the fact that we have a journey ahead of us now, and it's not downhill would sound actually negative as well, but it's an uphill battle in a sense. We are low on the ranking. We have one rookie. We have a new team. We have a new coach. We have 8 days to the next game. But again, we're starting to hear the laughters. We're starting to have fun together. We're trying to do social activities, etc. So we need to go somewhere in that regard. And again, the key word there is like we're trying to move forward from a place where people feel belonging and fun, and we see where that takes us.
Yeah, I'll have to give some more massages, I guess. All right. This question has come up quite a bit. There are a lot of questions about Fnatic's ability now to attract the best talent, attract the best players out there. What is your response to this? Is it true? Have we lost, I don't know, signing players because our reputation or drama that's popped up? What's the deal with this?
I think you need to probably, those members that people perceive we have lost, so to speak, you probably need to actually ask them, and I'm not trying to repel the question. Are we that 18-0 world finalist team we once were today? No, we're not. Is League of Legends, LEC more competitive than ever? Are there more options, etc.? Does people have more resources, etc.? Has it evened out? fuck yeah, that is the case. That's the reality of what we're dealing with. And maybe we've been lazy, slow, or not adapting accordingly. I think we need to always be shapeshifters. At the same time, I think we have, to some degree, if you compare ourselves against the comparables, in the sense that we are one of the longest standing organizations, and we are, on an annual basis, can be in League of Legends, often it has actually, but also in other games been delivering world-class performance. But that is not to say that we're happy with, let's say, the bronze medal and we're not finally taking down G2, which we will eventually do, and hopefully that can even be this year. But I don't think that people are foreign to the idea of coming to Fnatic, but am I the right one to answer? I'm quite institutionalized, I guess, in this organization after all these years. But just think about myself, the outreach that someone like me has gotten the last few weeks in terms of coaching talent, players, etc. Some of the relationships we have fostered with some of the absolute biggest legends of this game have ever produced are out there. That is not to say that we can do better, because we can. But I think, yeah, we just need to let the results speak for a bit. We need to build that culture, and we see where that takes us. But I'm very confident in our ability to turn bad situations around. But we want to reach that consistency for sure. So, yeah, let's see.
Stu, if we were, let's say, true to the reputation, how do we turn that around, in your opinion?
I think, the results and kind of the journey of this kind of long-term rebuild, medium-term rebuild that we're going to undertake will speak for themselves. But we have got history. We are an extremely professional organisation to deal with. I don't think that's a kind of worry for us as we move forwards. I think, with the people that we have working across all of our titles that have relationships within those titles, we're really well connected and, as I see it, really highly regarded. So we're kind of at the bottom performance-wise, but that's after kind of 3 weeks, and, the season's a long season, so let's see where we go, and the results will help us get back on top. But, perhaps a small dint, a temporary dint, I think is the takeaway for me. Nothing to worry about.
Yeah, I mean, I also forgot an important thing. Looking at our lineup, some of the players we have, I would say all of them, but obviously some of them are very accomplished and achievable. So we have some really crazy, sick, great talent in our roster right
Absolutely.
now. And we are looking to leverage that and deliver towards that. So that's where we need to be accountable as a management, as a coaching team, that we're getting the absolute most and we're giving the people the platform. But yeah, I wouldn't sign that paper like, there's no one want to be here. There's no reputation. Just looking at our roster right now, it's a quite sick one. We have work to do for sure, but we'll try to get there. And if we don't, we try again.
Great. Yeah, this is actually taking a lot longer than I expected. So I just wanted to go one last question for you, Stu, before we move on. Akedu, man, some of these names, man. Akedu wants to know Sens, who was our performance coach.
Yep.
For how long was he with us? A year now? 2 years even? A year.
Summer split.
Yeah. Okay. Since summer split, he announced that he won't continue with the team. Obviously, he was a sports psychologist. How important is this role in a team like ours? And are you guys considering a replacement already?
Yeah, definitely. I think the performance coach role within any kind of esports team or professional sports team is a really significant one. Wide-ranging responsibilities, not just the psychological support for the players and staff. So it's, it is hugely important to us. We have parted ways with Sens. We need to go away and review and reflect kind of on what we want that role to be, and with the head coach, who you're all going to meet very, very shortly when I move off the sofa, coming in. He's very passionate about the areas that we're talking about psychology, about kind of, the holistic approach to performance that we've built so far in Fnatic. So I think absolutely we're going to be looking into that role and, exploring our options. But we need to bring the head coach on that journey, get his feedback and exactly what he needs to help us make that decision, so that we're, fully informed and we get the right person or people for that role as we move forward and grow and expand the performance function at Fnatic. So I think that's probably one where we'll have an update in the future for it. But it's definitely in our
Might
thoughts.
have another 2-hour AMA for that.
Hopefully not.
All right. Well, thank you, Stu. And
Pleasure.
it's still early days, as you mentioned, but I'm going to be very excited to introduce new head coach of NIghtshare to this couch right after a little break. But first off, I want to say thank you, Stu, for coming on and sharing your insights with us.
I stick around a bit, or?
Yeah, you're not off the hook yet.
Okay, I'll linger around.
All right, so yeah, stick around, guys. A couple of minutes break, and we're gonna get NIghtshare here on the couch, and we're gonna introduce you to him and see what he's all about. Very exciting times ahead. Stick with us.
A storm has been brewing, building up a power within. Now, what would you do if you could harness all that energy? Well, you no longer have to ask. So take your seat and experience true energy.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Fnatic Live AMA. We've covered winter, we've covered the off-season, and now I want to look a little bit into the future, into Spring Split. And in order to do that, a big part of that Spring Split is going to be a new head coach at NIghtshare. Welcome.
Hi.
Yeah, I mean, first off, tell us a little bit about yourself. Let's introduce you to all the fans out there.
Okay, so my name is Thomas. My face might look familiar because I'm a twin brother of Freeze, who you might have known from before. I'm 28 and I've been in eSport for over 8 years, I'd say.
Yeah, Patrik, over to you next. How did this decision to bring on Thomas come about, and what impressed you the most about Thomas when he was in talks with you?
Yeah. Hello, Thomas. Welcome to the couch. It's a very stressful place to be at, but better get ready. No, look, it was not a given that we would have changed staff in the way we have going into this year. We had Crusher coming in from a great run in our TQ Academy, and he deserves all the credit and respect. It's just that we came to a point where we felt some revitalization is the better one versus continuing on the journey we were on. And at some point through this process, not too many days ago, we came about Thomas, and obviously it's a known face in the League of Legends community. Very pleased about the early conversations we had. We had a few. I think we grilled you a bit and asked all sorts of questions about life and esports.
Was crazy, guys.
And everything crazy in between. But what I really like, because I did touch earlier that we have through this process spoken to a few different, let's say, coaching opportunities as well, right? Just trying to figure out what do we need, what are the challenges. But one of those key ingredients, as I go back to, is, I mean, it's not that we're making a pasta or anything like that, but I guess in some way we do, is someone to come in with confidence, someone that comes in with a belief system, someone that comes in with a hunger and a sincere interest and intention to, you know, further his or her career in organization. And that's what we liked a lot about Thomas in those conversations. Also happened to have some existing relationship with our players, and we thought a bit like, what are those building blocks, what are we building, etc. And that will be important. But obviously we are new in our relationship, but we have done, I think, a thorough exercise the last 7 days to get to know each other. And obviously the other day we met in person for the first time. You met the staff here on the ground a few days ago more. So that's why we're here, and we obviously looking to turn chapter now together and build something.
Yeah, absolutely. Thomas, how was the whole process for you? And how do you feel about coming on to Fnatic?
So the process was really fast. To be honest, I can say that I am, and I was pretty excited when Fnatic approached me, mainly because how Patrik mentioned, I coached Humanoid in before, and it was an interesting idea of reuniting with him and seeing where he is and how he improved since then. And honestly, I was excited even for the rest of the roster, because it's a good balance of sort of well experienced veterans and rookies. I would say I mean, I've heard you guys were talking about having only one rookie, but I would say Heng is to some, Advian to some extent, I would say he's a rookie as well. And always working with rookies is such a pleasure, you know, because they're like sponges. They just intake so many like new things that they learn, and you can see them improving from not just day to day, but game to game. And it's really, for us, it's really happening. And I can say it's sort of like a honeymoon period right now. And they are, you know, motivating and energizing the whole team. So I hope we can ride on this wave for a bit longer. And we see, you know, like we've practiced for 4 days, and so far, I mean, I'm pretty excited going into the next season.
Yeah, just going back to, I mean, obviously, as you mentioned, you've only been screwing for a few days. You've literally only just got here, but what were your first impressions when you came to this place, to this training facility, and meeting the players for the first time? Was there an air of excitement, or what was the feeling that you were having in your soul?
So I actually arrived the day that we were starting scrims. So it was a crazy day, and honestly, I feel like we had really good introduction. So we started on a right foot, and I felt from the players that like extreme buy-in to whatever we are saying, me and Hiva, and we divided the workload, I'd say in a best way possible. And I think that the office is really nice, and it has the whole Fnatic. I was already mentioning it to Patrik yesterday. It feels very nice, warm, you know, welcoming. So I'm excited. I think it's. I mean, I don't want to say that, but it made me feel way better already to what I experienced in previous organizations. So I'm looking forward to what you guys, you know, will bring to the table.
Awesome, that's actually really great to hear. So, I mean, with this newish team that you're leading now, with Hiva, you mentioned Hiva will be staying on with us. What are your priorities now before the split begins? There's a very short time window to practice to find that team identity. And what is the strategy going into spring?
So the priorities, main priority, one is sort of building a culture. I'm a big culture guy. And wherever I've been, even in sports before, I've seen or experienced that culture has a big part of if the team is actually succeeding or not. So we're trying to put emphasis on that and build that. We already played board games, with the players. Today we'll play some PC games, Pummel Party, Amongst Us, where it's naturally forcing players to interact between themselves, and it's helping them build connections and relationships in the beginning for us to prepare, for when
shit hits the fan,
basically, yes, or the dark times, or however you want to describe it. Because usually it's it's not a matter of if it happens. It's usually a matter of when it happens, and we want to be prepared in the best way for it. And usually, if people are already establishing relationships and they know how to how to talk to each other, and then they know how to cope in those hard times as well, and that helps with with the obstacles that we will be facing. So that's one priority that we have. Second priority, I would say, sort of like a more in-game thing, is we're very aligned with Hiva, how we want to play the game in a sort of like a simplistic, structured approach of the game, and we're pushing for the players to learn certain habits and patterns that they can replicate in every game. And the end goal for us is basically if me or Hiva would wake up the team at like 4 a.m. in the morning, they'll be able to execute what we're trying to teach them 5 out of 5 games, and therefore that will give that usually gives you confidence as a coach, that they'll be able to execute under stress, under on the stage, so that's the second sort of like the biggest priority we have with Hiva, and what we are trying to sort of double down on. And I know if the players are listening now, I want to just tell them, sometimes we can be a bit pain in the ass about this one, but trust us, it's for your benefit, and I've seen it and experienced it, in my coaching career so many times. Like if we actually are playing game 5 of the scrims and people are able to execute the patterns that we are trying to teach them, I mean, I have confidence that we will be winning games on stage based on how they'll be approaching the game.
Yeah, it's just a follow-up question to that. Is there a concern though that just playing this one way, playing this like process that you and Hiva are establishing within the team, could that be seen as one-dimensional or easy to predict for enemy teams?
So we're not fully. I mean, we don't want to be a team that fully goes in just having one team identity or one strategy to play. We're currently experimenting or playing with already 2 team identities that are working for us. So we wouldn't be that team for once, and for second, I feel like even if a team has certain really structured way of playing or solid foundation of how they play, it's kind of like a double-edged sword, if yes, you are predictable for opponents, they can do scouting, they can see the patterns, how you play, but if you're actually playing every game like that, you're way better at playing that style than the opponents, and you can just win the game through the excellence, and just being straight up better at that style if they're trying to match that style of how you play.
Yeah, I guess with metas and patches and whatever, if you're really good at one style that is like almost unbeatable and you play it to perfection, it's very, very hard to counter, right? So yeah, interesting approach. As a coach, like, what is your style? You've mentioned it a little bit before with culture, with doubling down on a few team identities, not spreading yourself so thin. What do you expect from the players then?
So I expect some certain level of professional, behavior. I'm a guy that usually has some values that I don't want to go back, off. One of that being never late, usually putting extra effort in. So we have a set schedule every day where the players need to come to the office in before scrims. They need to play solo queue. They need to eat together. They need to interact in some way. Then we have a team meeting. Then we have a scrim. And after scrim, usually they play solo queue from the office again. So it's just it's just creating an environment where even from us as coaches, we are here before the players, so the players are. They see and they have that sort of a feeling of someone is working hard, and so maybe I should, work a bit harder as well. And I'll not go into details in what other values I stand for, but it's like a very firm approach if I have to say. So yeah.
Yeah, very confident, I feel like. Considering all of this and considering I know that, you've only been together for a few days and we only have, what you mentioned, 8 days left before Spring Split starts. What are you expecting, both of you, from Spring Split? Is this a rebuilding phase or are we expecting to be top 4, top 2? What's the expectation here?
Patrik, you want to go?
Yeah, let's see how much we match. Exactly. Number one. I think we talked earlier about the challenge, and that's not just looking back the review mirror the last few months, but maybe quite a while actually, where a poor day of scrim or scrim week and or a few bad games on the stage can take us to a very bad place mentally and cohesion-wise. So I think we kind of need to test, some of the theories and thoughts and methods that someone like Thomas will bring in alongside, obviously, Hiva and Shaves. I mean, shout out to those guys who work extremely hard and supportive in this very tough process that we leave behind us. I also did say earlier, and I'm boring people again, but I actually think we can win every game we compete in, right? I mean, we need to believe that. We need to just make strategies around that. And that might mean that we acknowledge that if we play straight up, so to speak, and just follow the meta and just not trying to anti-strat or anything like that, we're playing against a maybe better team with more momentum, more experience, whatever, we might lose. But just really understanding that there are ways and being very curious and innovative in terms of how we win. But to my expectation would be that we, in a good day or bad day, have a team and a foundation to stand on, an acknowledgement that Spring Split, Winter Split behind us can actually come and go. But opportunities are still there, and obviously we might be in a really bad place end of the year. That is still possible, and we just need to take all the learnings in. But now is the road forward relatively clear in terms of what we need to do. So I'm not going to be here saying we're going to get a medal, we're going to beat G2 and those teams. We're going to take one day at a time until the split starts, and then we're going to take one game at a time. And I guess within that game, we need to take one kind of last hit at a time, and one Baron fight and one Dragon. All of those things that someone like Thomas will know a lot about. But long story short, we're not sitting here and standing and shouting behind the players like we better win like this every game and etc. We take it step by step, and we are using the time at our best way possible. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. It makes sense. Thomas?
For me, I would not. I wouldn't call expectations to pressure the players or anything. But what I expect from the team and from players itself, it's just showing improvement. And if it comes that we have a day where we are not showing improvement, working on figuring out what happened, and what we should be doing, to improve sort of like a level of practice. And if we achieve that, then naturally the wins should come. And then for the fans, honestly, I don't feel like there is a team that we cannot beat. So it's only on us, and it's just we have to focus on how we play, how we prep, and I think we can basically beat every team. And I feel like the league this split will be very competitive, so it's going to be very interesting, and I can see us being somewhere in the middle of the pack.
Great. Perfect. I think actually we've answered a lot of these questions on my cue cards here. You answered, how you expect to handle team conflicts, through building that relationship from the beginning, something that you can fall back on through the hard times. Not if, but when. For you, Patrik, last question, I guess. What are we doing to make sure that our new coach is properly supported? Because, we've had instances where in the past where coaches have said, we don't have enough resource. In light of the public leaks about, like, for example, Tolki, who came out publicly recently saying that, he was left in the lurch, basically, here in Berlin.
The question was?
The question was, how do we make sure that our coaching staff, Thomas, have all the resources that they need?
No, I mean, that quote took me back a bit in time and started to think, like, what could we have done better in a sense, right? And I'm sure there's a lot of things we could and can and will do better. I think a very open dialogue with Thomas, that is not on a minute-by-minute basis, asking what you need. That would probably add a bit of stress. We talked earlier about additional hires that will come down the road, but we're not going to jump into those conclusions. We need to think about, like, establishing a base, a foundation, a culture. I think Thomas would be an amazing lead towards that. And that's when it gets easier to add towards that. Have we so far provided Thomas with a great, exciting roster? I think the answer to that is yes. Do we have a great facility? I would say the best in Berlin. Maybe not in Europe, but it's really, really good. It's really cool. I'd love to be. It would be a dream for me, but I'm too old now, so I've given up the idea of at least League of Legends, maybe Counter-Strike. But no, not to joke the important question away. That is just really, really taking in those learnings from the past and, like, merging management and coaching as much together. Management might be good at some things, not other things so much perhaps, and ensuring that Thomas and his team, Hiva and Shaves and future members, have the ability to impact not only on the Rift and the draft leading into the Rift, but the entire environment behind. So that kind of connects us a bit back to that collaborative nature, etc., that we have probably not executed towards that well. But that is my promise to Thomas, and, like, we're going to do everything in our power to do so. And if we do not, shout at us. That's completely fine. Better you do it when you're here rather than on Twitter 2 years later, but that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like, over the past few days that I've been here and the past few days that you've both been here, what would you say, have we gone off on the right foot? I mean, you've mentioned it before, but Patrik, have you seen a shift in mentality in the individual players?
I would be careful on record to say, like, everything is perfect, we get in there, watch out you guys out there, the LEC teams. But I can say that I was here a month ago, roughly. That was before the split started. I think it was on the day we started. And you touched on that briefly as well, obviously in your words and from your perspective as someone also that is here every day. But I just feel now, when returning to Berlin, meeting Thomas and watching the scrims and being around, it's a bit of a new experience in that regard, on a positive note, that we have the starting blocks or the building blocks towards a place where people want to be at, and they're excited and they're working really hard. You're hearing laughter, even if I think I saw 60 kills in one of the scrims. So it was like still some smiles on the faces. I think most of those kills were in our favor. No, I'm kidding, but maybe they were. But I see that's only a month, right? But that's the magic of sports, right? You never also know, like, what is a good day and bad day. It's hard to always predict and define those things. But I am hopeful. I really am. But obviously now we should actually just shut up as an organization, just do the results. We just need to do that. And then people can, rate that thereafter,
Yeah. Anything to add, Thomas? Any last words?
Hopefully not last words.
I mean, I would just add to what Patrik was saying, sort of, like, now the team is in the honeymoon phase, so everything seems very, like, easygoing, and then everything is working out, sort of. So what you usually really need to see is, when nothing is working or when you have few bad days in a row, then you actually get to know, the players, the personalities a bit more, and you get to see, how they are. So I would say maybe not sadly, but we haven't, or I haven't seen it yet. So I hope it will happen sooner rather than later. But again, when it happens, you know, it's about me and Hiva, how we handle it on the flow, sort of, with all the prep that we're, like what you were already mentioning. And then it's about how the players are handling it as well. And I think we have very good group of people who will, you know, handle it well. So
I'm very looking forward to capturing all of those moments and putting it in Legends in Action for all of you guys to see out there. All right, so that brings us to the end of the AMA. It's been a really long one. Thank you so much, Thomas. Thank you so much, Patrik.
Thank you, Pete, and the team around, Dan and Santo.
Yeah,
Everyone
Dan,
at home
Santo,
fixing things.
Tanny, Phil, David, Rob, everybody. Ed did the graphics. You know, it's been a really rough couple of weeks for us, but we finally got our announcements out.
I would call it constructive weeks.
Constructive weeks, yeah, constructive weeks. I'm glad you guys got a little bit more insight into the inner workings of Fnatic, and I hope you guys support us still. Coming up, we have our first game against Excel next Saturday, 11th at 6 p.m. In the LEC. Before that, though, tomorrow, a very exciting match. We're actually in Valorant over in Sao Paulo. Sao Paulo, we're playing against Navi, two absolute super team powerhouses going at it in the semifinals.
EMA representing.
Yeah, EMA representing. It's going to be a very exciting match to watch. I'm very looking forward to that. So check that out as well if you're into Valorant. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you guys for watching. And hope to see you guys very, very soon.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.